It started with ripples, but soon became waves.
Increases in certain types of responses that we were making, and one of those were overdose responses.
The first wave was created by overprescribing opioid pain medications.
20 or so years ago, when the drug companies started telling primary care physicians that these new drugs, these wonder drugs, these opiates were not addictive.
The next wave was heroin.
That's when you start realizing there's a problem. It's not just a spike in one singular thing. It was persistent and pervasive across the whole community.
Now, a third wave. Deadlier synthetic opioids and analogs in the illegal drug supply chain.
This was a small fire that became, a forest fire.
Across the nation, drug overdose deaths are showing a slight decline. This, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Not here. They are not declining here.
In 2010, the Lucas County Coroner's Office reported 8 opioid deaths. In 3 years, they increased tenfold. That number nearly tripled in another 2 years. It more than doubled again in 2018 when a staggering 433 people died of drug overdoses in the 21 counties served by the Lucas County Coroner. Of those, 227 were in Lucas County, a number that nearly tripled since 2014. In fact, since 2007, drug overdose has been the leading cause of accidental death here in Ohio and across the nation, surpassing automobile accidents. Opium comes from the sap of certain poppy plants and is the original opiate. It has been used medicinally and recreationally for centuries. Morphine and codeine were extracted from opium in the early 1800s, and heroin was synthesized from morphine in 1874. In fact, Bayer Pharmaceutical trademarked the name heroin for a household pain remedy in 1898. Modern medicine continues to use morphine and various other synthetics for legitimate medical purposes to treat pain. You might recognize the names of some of those common prescription painkillers: Vicodin, OxyContin, Percocet.
We've been making medicine from natural resources, natural products, natural herbs for years. That's basically what pharmacists was doing years ago. But over time, the synthetic ones and the chemical ones, they become a lot stronger. And they all target the same opioid sites in our brain. So you don't really know the difference.
Then, in the late 1990s, pharmaceutical companies reassured the medical community that patients would not become addicted to opioid pain relievers, and healthcare providers began prescribing them at greater rates. This led to widespread misuse of prescription opioids before it became clear that these meds could, in fact, be highly addictive.
What we saw as a direct result of tremendous marketing and a lot of money spent is the use of these drugs and the prescribing of these drugs went up like a rocket for a long time. That got a number of people addicted. At some point, many of them moved into heroin. Now what we've seen, of course, is this evolve. So it starts with the pain meds, goes to the heroin. Now we are dealing with fentanyl, which is so much more potent than heroin, which is now being mixed into virtually every other kind of drug.
Fentanyl is 50 to 100 times the strength of morphine and is legitimately used as an anesthetic and for chronic end-stage pain management.
Often the problem is the combination that are adding together. And when we analyze the powder or a residue, often we find 2 or 3 drugs in that powder. So the person may think they're using one drug without realizing that they're actually using more than one, even in that powder.
Fentanyl is so much more potent. It is it takes a lot more naloxone to bring someone back. In many cases, they don't come back, they die because of the fentanyl. So fentanyl is what's keeping our death rate up in Ohio.
Anyone who takes opioids is at risk of developing substance use disorder, which is defined as a craving for a drug and continued use of the drug despite harmful consequences. Opioids are highly addictive because they activate the powerful reward center of the brain.
Dependence is my tolerance and my withdrawal symptoms are there. Okay? So I use more of a drug or I experience withdrawal symptoms from the drug. Addiction is I cannot function now properly without the drug.
Among those on the front lines of the epidemic, the verdict is resounding. Addiction is a disease.
The Mental Health Recovery Services Board supports the idea that substance dependence is a disease of the brain, and in fact mandates all of our contracted providers to do provide evidence-based treatment services to effectively address those disorders.
And on the front lines, ever-increasing doses of Narcan are being dispensed by first responders and by family members themselves with opioid-dependent loved ones.
In the past 7 months of 2019, we've had almost 1,100 overdoses in the city of Toledo. Nearly 80 of those have been fatalities. And we've given Narcan about 800 times. And that's just us. That isn't including what TPD's giving, Sheriff's Department's giving, lay people are giving. The health department is giving Narcan to anybody who wants it, and we're seeing more and more incidents where just bystanders have Narcan available to them and are giving that before we even reach the scene.
People have to understand is Narcan does save people's lives. That's just one tier of all this. We gotta get them breathing again. We have to get them to the point where we can get them to the hospital alive so that they can get the help that they need. So we can't write people off. We can't do that. If we don't give the Narcan, oftentimes that person is gonna die. So if it was my relative, I wouldn't want that to happen.
It's been said throughout the centuries that where there is life, there is hope.
I can only look at it one way. If it was my son or my brother or my mother, I wouldn't want anybody to give up on them.
We still have a lot of stigma around drug use. Now we have fentanyl coming in, and from one use, someone could just be gone.
The last time I looked, we're all on this planet together, and I think one of our biggest failures is failing each other.
And hope does exist right here in Lucas County. There's no easy answer, but experts across multiple disciplines are at the table.
I think it's important for the community to know that there are a lot of services here. Challenge for us is to let people know what services are available to support them and to support their families. Families are just number one to us, and we're working to do more as a collective in the community.
I don't think you can look at one strategy over another and say this is exactly what is working in our community. I think it takes multiple tools in the tool chest. It's not a tool belt anymore, it's a chest. Because there are so many different strategies that are needed.
And throughout Lucas County, drop boxes offer a reliable way to permanently dispose of unused and unwanted medications. They are safe and secure.
Probably every 2 weeks, I usually do the report. We weigh them up, and within a 2-week period, we usually average around 35 pounds. That's from our 3 district stations and also our portable boxes that we take to the block watch meetings. We've collected over 13,000 pounds in the last 5 years.
In the final analysis, real hope lies in prevention.
There's really 2 parts of healthcare. One is fixing, repairing, treating that which has already happened. The other part is prevention. What I'm talking about is if we don't do something on prevention, this is going to continue.
Yeah, prevention is the most important thing we can do. It's the cheapest thing we can do. It has the most impact.
The real state of hope is understanding that the intervention is prevention. The more that you reach out to people and let them know that the help is there, you're gonna start to curb or see that trend that you're seeing go down.
Yes, here in Lucas County, there is a staggeringly high number of opioid overdose deaths. But there is life, and so there is hope.
If you look at the numbers, just solely at the numbers, you will become hopeless. But if you look at the little incremental steps that are improving over time, like how much access people have to help right now, and how many people are actually seeking it, that gives you hope that eventually, as you educate people, you can prevent this from getting worse.
Recovery is all about hope. So what we want to do is we want to create that and embed that hope within everything we do, because without that, there isn't an expectation of getting well. The data we're looking at for opioid overdose reversals is also increasing. So we know that more lives are being saved by our first responders. So I would say from our standpoint that there is progress being made on this fight. Can you declare the war is over? Certainly not. Are we even done with the battle yet? No. I mean, there are many battles being won. There are some setbacks. But I think everybody in our community is committed to the fight and will continue to fight as long as, this epidemic is in our community.
Me personally, I'm proud to be hitting this head on. I'm proud to be part of an organization that is taking it serious. And I truly believe in my heart that we will beat this. If we don't completely wipe it out, we'll get pretty close, because we have entities like Harbor and so many others that are invested in this and really care.
Help is available if you or a loved one is struggling with heroin or opioids. Call Recovery Helpline at 419-255-3125. For any crisis, you can also text 4HOPE to 741-741. This presentation is made possible by Harbor through the Mental Health and Recovery Services Board of Lucas County.